Welcome to Peachtree City OBGYN's Take Good Care podcast.
On this episode, we will just introduce ourselves so you get to know who we are, where we're from, and some of what we hope to accomplish in Take Good Care.
Well, we are embarking on a new era for Peachtree City OBGYN, so this is our inaugural podcast. So I thought it would be a great idea if we kind of talk about who we are, where we're from, how did we get here, why did we choose OBGYN, just how we've evolved to be sitting at this space at this time. So I'll start it off. I am Miranda Williams. I am originally from Atlanta. I'm a rare native Atlantan, actually born right here in the grand city of Atlanta. My parents, Alice and Milton Williams, are also native Atlantans and Georgians, so, you know, my roots run deep as it relates to here. So I went to Morehouse School of Medicine for that training, and then ended up at MCG, or what was then MCG, or the Medical College of Georgia, to start my residency program. And then over the course of time, I guess that's how we all kind of connected, one way or the other. But back in medical school, I really thought I wanted to do pediatrics. And so when I started medical school, that was what I thought I was going to do. But then after going through a lot of the clinical rotations, you know, I kind of gravitated to OBGYN, even though I didn't really want to do OB. You know, how about you guys?
I'm Deanna Guthrie. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Both of my parents are from Jamaica, and so for a short period of time, from the ages of 9 till 12, I lived actually in Jamaica. And then we moved to Atlanta when I was about 12. So I've spent the majority of my life here in Georgia. So this is home. I'm a peach. I went to medical school at Medical College of Georgia, and also did my residency year. So I spent 8 years in Augusta. Initially, I didn't even know that I wanted to do medicine. I majored in chemistry, biochemistry in college, and was trying to decide between engineering and medicine. And my dad kind of steered me towards medicine. And I knew I wanted to work with people. I didn't want to just sit behind a desk or just be in a lab. So it was a good fit. And then when I got to medical school, the first real decision you make is whether or not you're going to be medical or surgical. And I knew right away I wanted to be surgical. So I ended up in OBGYN because you deal mainly with healthy women, and that was the draw for me. Karen?
My name is Karen Green. I am not a native Atlantan. I am from New York, and never really thought I'd end up in the South. So love New York. Left New York after high school and ended up in North Carolina for undergraduate as well as medical school. I went to Duke University and was there for 8 years, and probably would have stayed in North Carolina because I really loved the area, but thought I was going to head back to New York. I wasn't going to go further south, but ended up at the Medical College of Georgia, where I met these two lovely ladies for my residency. And at that point, I realized that the South is going to be my home, and the next step ended up being Atlanta, here with the two of them. In terms of making the decision of how to get to OB, like Deanna said, you kind of make that decision between surgical versus medical, and I always really enjoyed surgery. I mean, that was definitely a love, and general surgery appealed to me. The problem with the general surgery when I saw it as training is that you don't get to take care of the patients. And so for me, OBGYN gave me the opportunity to take care of patients and really connect with the patients. And so that was a drive. And being an obstetrician gynecologist really fulfills that, you know, surgical as well as medical. You get to see patients from the time they're young teenagers until they're my age, but just menopausal. And, you know, all the stuff in between. And so, you know, in the time I've been here, I came with the 96 Olympics. And so since I've been here, I've gotten to see a lot of stuff and, you know, just really, really love OBGYN.
That's right, because we were all like 2 years apart. So you came in 96,
94.
You came in 94, and I came in 92. And I was just sitting here trying to think. I don't remember you, Karen, in Augusta. I mean, vaguely, but that's because,
You interviewed me.
see, that's awful.
That-
I don't
yes.
even remember
She
that.
interviewed me, and
Oh, I hope I was nice.
made an impression. I mean, no, a good impression, a good impression.
I don't
Because
even remember that.
it's funny when you grow up in New York, you kind of have a different perspective of the South, and so. After even being in North Carolina for that period of time and kind of thinking, okay, am I going to stay here? To meet someone that was from Atlanta, which of course, I'm just going to Atlanta. That's just wonderful. Everyone wants to go to Atlanta. So that was kind of how I met you.
Yeah, that was funny. Now, because Deanna, you were my intern. I was second year.
You were second year, and I was a junior
Student.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how we met.
So I remember being on rotations. I don't remember how we became friends.
I don't know how did that
I
happen.
don't know how did that happen.
It's the
I
stress.
think it was when I became an intern. That's when we became friends. So when I started residency and you were third year, you kind of took me under your wing. I do remember that. And then how we ended up doing things socially, I don't know.
remember. I don't remember.
I think maybe you had something. I came home for I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. I really don't.
That's
But
funny. I really don't know how that happened. Who knows? And then Karen, because did you hang out with Karen at all when? Because I was gone.
After you left,
Right.
then we started. Then she was
Okay.
on my rotations.
Okay.
Yeah.
We bonded in oncology.
Oh yeah.
That's where everybody.
That's
Yeah.
where.
And we lived in the same apartment complex.
Yes.
Oh, you guys did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
I remember she was going out of town, and I ended up taking care of Skidmark.
Yes,
I remember
my cat.
Skidmark for her, and that's how we ended up getting closer.
Okay. Can someone explain exactly the skid
Skidmark
mark?
was Dr. Green's cat, and she had him from at Duke, and she brought him to Augusta. And at one point, she was going out of town, so I took care of Skidmark. She's going to have to explain the name.
He was a rescue cat. I think I looked and saw an ad, and I lived by myself, so I just wanted some company. And so I got him as an older kitten. And so he stayed with me when I was doing a rotation out of town, and when my heat went out in my house, and he sat on my feet and kept me warm. And he's a tabby, and he was striped. And so I thought it kind of looked like skid marks. So that's how I came up with the name, And so he was just one of those cats that when I moved to Augusta, he was a little confused, but he got used to it. I would let him out of the house, and he would, do his own thing until I got him spayed, and kept him until he got diabetes and thyroid disease and just got old. But, he was definitely my pet. I think that there's a benefit of having an animal that is a little low maintenance, but is good comfort to have when you come home by yourself.
Yep, that's for sure.
I remember Dr. Meyer, when I was making the decision to what practice to join. I knew I wanted to be in Atlanta, so I was looking at a lot of practices, and so I asked him for advice. And I said, should I join a practice with people I know? He went, why not? You know these people. Why not go with your friends? I said, yeah, that's, a good idea and a great decision. A great decision, for a lot of different reasons. And I think just training similarly and having similar philosophies as well as practice standards makes a big difference for us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when I was finishing residency, I had the struggle I had at the time, as I recall, is I had been what they call chief resident. So I was like the chief administrative resident. And I really enjoyed the residency program, the academics and everything. So at one point I considered doing a fellowship in maternal fetal medicine. Because Dr. DeVoe and all those our attendees at the time had a real big impact on me. But I was having this tug of I'm just ready to go home. Even though Augusta was only 2 hours away from Atlanta, I had been in school because I went straight. I went from high school to college, from college to medical school, from medical school to resident. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for my life to start. So I knew I wanted to come back home, but at the time I had one of those scholarships where when you finished your training, you were supposed to go to like a rural setting. And so my mother's family is from Noonan, Georgia. So at that time, Noonan was nowhere as built up and developed as it is now. So it met the criteria as a rural location. So I was kind of looking at practices in that area. And I think I had a recruiter who called and told me about this practice that was in Peachtree City, but at that time the physicians were operating and delivering at Noonan. And so I said, okay, so I just went ahead and kind of pursued that. And that was with Dr. Schultz, Dr. Rosemary Schultz, who started our practice, Peachtree City OBGYN. Had the phone interview, and it was just like an instant connection. And, long story short, ended up coming and visiting and interviewing and then joined here. So I had been here 2 years. And like I said, Deanna and I, we were friends. We were hanging out all the time. We may tell a story about when there had to be an intervention. Do you want to share the story about
later
the intervention?
Later date.
Okay, we'll say that for another time. Anywho, so we were hanging out and stuff. So she was starting to look, and I said that look everywhere, interview everywhere.
I did interview around, and I did do due diligence, and I looked at other practices, but just as Karen was saying, I just felt the connection. Of course, I'd already connected with Miranda and the other physicians in this practice. Like I said, it was similar philosophy there, and like I said, and a good friend. So I knew it would have taken a lot for me not to come to this practice. So.
And then how did we get rope Karen in?
Well, it was, we needed, and 2 years later, we were looking for somebody else, and I said, I know somebody.
Okay,
and
so
we
you
did the
you
rescue.
specifically, okay, all right.
I said the rescue.
Yeah.
I told Karen, interview if you want to come to Atlanta, call us.
Okay.
I remember the weekend you came for your interview too, because she stayed with me at
Okay,
my house.
okay,
And,
okay. Okay.
I remember doing that drive off of the exit because it was Rose's party. I got there and thinking, this is in the boonies.
I know. It seemed like it was so
Are
far.
you kidding me?
Nothing but cows and
But
trees.
it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a great time. I had a great weekend. And, I came back and interviewed with someone else and did the due diligence and then had the conversation with Dr. Meyer and said, this is going to be the place for me.
Yep.
And from 96 on, that was it.
That's it.
That was it.
Because you met your husband here in Atlanta.
I did.
Right. Because at the time when all three of us, and there was actually a fourth member of the crew who's not here, but we may have her on as a guest. That's something that you consider. We may have to bring our fourth wheel in for an interview at one point. But at that time, we were hanging pretty tough. We were working hard.
We worked hard.
Worked
but we
very
played
hard, but we would make good use of our downtime.
Yes.
And we would just be, going out. We were working out at this professional health club downtown. Because at the time, had we started delivering at Georgia Baptist?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were delivering because we moved around at different hospitals just depending. We started out in Noonan at Noonan Hospital, but as our OB career took off and the OB numbers starting to grow, and then with the increase in complexity of obstetrics, we felt like we needed a little bit higher level of care than what was provided at that time in terms of the nursery being like a level 3 or higher so that we could continue to care for our patients instead of transferring them out. And at that time as well, Fayette County did not have OB at the hospital, so we ended up going to deliver in downtown hospitals. So that we could carry on. And so because we were downtown, we started, doing some things in the downtown Atlanta area, joined a workout place at the time. And, just really, I think we enjoyed those years. Those were good years. We had a good time. We were known as those Peachtree City girls. They were like, here they come again. So we had a good time, but it was in a good way. It wasn't in a bad way. It was in a good way.
Work out at the gym and then go eat.
That's it. And
Work out at the gym and then go eat.
So yes, we hit all the fun at that time. What was that restaurant that had the was it Cobbler? What was that restaurant?
MacArthur.
Oh yeah, we could get 3 cobblers so we could share it.
My goodness.
It was in a little bowl with the best crust. Oh, that's
Yeah.
sad
No
that you
longer
remember how they taste.
that
That
was
blueberry cobbler
it was so
with some
good.
ice cream on top.
Oh my goodness. So when they closed, we were very sad. It was not a good thing. But that's so we've been together now, all three together, over 20 years.
More than
I mean,
24.
24. It'll be
almost
24 this
25
July.
years. Almost 25 years. So we've definitely transitioned as personally and professionally. And about 4 years ago now, we retired from obstetrics. And so now we just do GYN. And that was a hard decision. I know a lot of people have asked us, why did we give up the OB part? And it wasn't because we didn't love it and love taking care of the patients and the babies and everything, but because of just other things, family responsibilities. All of us are generally in the same age. So we have, parents who are aging, who are requiring more. Dr. Green has very active boys that require a lot of time and attention. So it was just, and I think that's one of the reasons why, and we can start talking about that too, about why we thought we wanted to go into the whole podcast and, have another way of engaging with our patients and just with the community at large, is because, we're just like you guys are. We're working, we're juggling a bazillion things at one time. And so we felt like we wanted to try to just have a forum where we could just talk about stuff, where we could educate, yes, if we can provide information that will be helpful, but also just to talk about how we have tried to figure things out in terms of our professional career, our health and wellness and fitness goals, and then just how do we, transition professionally, still remain engaged, still provide service to our patient population. But, I know for me, I just got to a place where I said, you know what, I can't keep working like this. With the late hours and the, weekends, and, it was just really physically, and I think even mentally, emotionally started really breaking me down. And I knew it was getting bad when Karen one day, she said, oh, let's go grab some lunch, I'm like, oh, okay, we'll go grab some lunch. And so we went down to a restaurant not far from the office. And so we're sitting down in there. And so she sits down and she looks at me. And so she's like, so what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. You tell me what's going on. So, she says, we're concerned about you. I'm like, concerned about me? What are you talking about? You concerned about me? So she, she says, well, it seems like you're unhappy, or you're this or you're that. And then it was such, that was like cold water in the face, because while I was angry at one point about, I'm like, why in the world are you talking to me about what's going on with me, when I realized, no, there's something going on with you, and you might need to figure it out, because while you thought that you were managing, you probably were not managing as well as you were under the impression. And so it really caused me, that was, I think, the time when I really had to stop and think, okay, what am I not doing right? Because I'm not having fun anymore. It had gotten to the point where I did not enjoy coming to work. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. But I don't think I had articulated that thought in my brain. I was just doing what we do, which is you just put your head down, you just do the work.
Keep plowing through.
You just do the work. And then that's when I started thinking, okay, I can't work unhappy and be, at my best for the patients or myself, so how is that going to have to change? And I think that's when I really started considering, do I need to do something different professionally? And so I thought about, do I just need to not do medicine or not do clinical practice? And I was like, no. And so, it made me start questioning some things about how I work, not what I do, because I enjoyed the patient part of it. It was just all the other stuff, that comes along with being a business owner, because we own our practice. Medicine was becoming more complex. The business of medicine was becoming more complex. The economy, we had our tank, the economy tanked. So we were having to do like 3 times as much work to try to maintain, the same level of revenue stream, because at that time, we had over 30-something employees. We were, how many docs? Like at one point we were 5 providers. So, that was a big practice and a lot of responsibility. So that's when the thought really started percolating. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's getting close to time to let the OB go. Because I had always said with anything, I'm like, when you get to the point where you don't enjoy it anymore, then you need to find something else to do. Because you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing the people you work with or your patients any favors.
Life balance, so important. Life balance. You know, keeping everything in perspective. Like, as you said, you want to enjoy your work. Not every day is going to be fun, and I think most people know that. But overall, you should enjoy your work and want to work and want to come to work. Because even when you get through hard times, that gives you a sense of accomplishment. You feel good about that. But if you're just struggling through and barely making it, that will not be enjoyable.
It's not sustainable. You just can't.
Not for long periods of time. Funny you mentioned, I remember Rose called me. Now, this was when we were still doing OB, and had the same conversation with me. She said, what's going on? And when you're plowing through, a lot of times you don't realize what you're projecting to everybody else. And she recognized it. And again, I was like, what? And, we had a long talk, and, I realized that I was letting a lot of stuff become unbalanced in terms of my personal life. And so you do have to kind of figure it out, how to balance your personal and your professional, because you want to maintain both of them. If you want to continue doing the job that you say you like, and I did. And I think we've all gone through those different phases. So for back then it was, okay, I need to, step back and see, how is this affecting me? And then when we came to the OB decision, for all of us having done it for so long, it was a big deal to say suddenly, okay, we can't do this anymore. And why? I personally, I'm happier since we stopped. I miss some of the things that we did, but it has allowed me to devote more time in my personal life, which is important to me. Still trying to figure out how I did it when I was doing OB, but you make those changes. You make those changes. You evolve and figure out what works for you, what's gonna make you be able to rest at night and function during the day.
And change is always hard, and I think we're very driven individuals, goal oriented, and when you worked so long, the whole process of going to college, and then you're trying to get into medical school, and then you're trying to, match, at whatever program you want to go to, and then you're being grilled, for 4 years that you're doing this residency program, and then it's like people are like, well, how can you give that up because you worked so hard to get there? Well, that's true, and we tell everybody, we were at this for like 20 something years. We didn't just get to the rodeo. We try to drink our water and take our vitamins so we don't look like we've been through the ringer. But we've been at it a while. We had really done over 20 years plus when you consider the residency training of obstetrics. And that's up at night, sometimes all night, sometimes
Weekends,
2 or 3 nights,
holidays.
weekends and holidays. And it will wear on you physically, emotionally, because I know, especially for you, Karen, there were times when there were some things going on with your family, with your kids, but you're on call, and it's like, you've got this job, that's important and is requiring your presence, but then you have other things going on in your life that are equally important, and you have to make those kind of choices and sacrifices, and that's hard. And I think that's why when we decided as a group, which is something else we did, that everybody was like, okay, all of y'all are stopping OB. we out, we done. All for one for all, because I think that's how we have generally practiced as a group. We've always, considered everybody's thoughts and feelings and perspectives, and then we kind of all figure it out and then come to a decision that's going to be the best decision for everybody. Now, everybody doesn't get everything they want, but we get enough of what we each need so that we can all stay together as a group, which is rare in obstetrics and gynecology or medical practice, period, because so many people move around and go to different places and different groups, and we have, from the day that we joined the practice, we've been right here. And at that time, it was just, I'm trying to think who was here. I think there were 3 providers, but one of the providers left almost the same time that I came in. So there was just 3 for a long time, myself, Dr. Banks, and Dr. Schultz, who started. That's Taylor.
I thought that's who
I
left.
was thinking about the other
Oh.
T, Dr.
Oh.
T. But yeah, I forgot. There was another doctor, but those doctors. So we've had people who've come in and left the practice. And really a lot of the reasons why, some of those other folks didn't stick is because we have a very strong group brain, and then there were other people who had more individual brains, so they wanted to do stuff that they wanted to do, whether or not it was the best for all of us to do. And it just didn't work. It just wasn't a fit, So, like I said, we've had, people to come in and leave, but the core group, which ended up being, myself, Dr. Guthrie, Dr. Green, Dr. Banks, who retired a little over a year ago. Like I said, our 4th wheel, Dr. Miller, and we'll have to have her come in. She was here for a long while as well. So, and then life things happened that had her to transition out. So,
And it's not to say that was wrong. It's just like you
Yeah.
said, it's just personalities. It's, they say a medical practice, when your partnership, it's almost like a marriage. You have to have the right fit. And it's not right or wrong. It's just.
and everybody's going to make sacrifices or something at some point. So, so yeah, so we have been just the 3 of us for like now 3 years, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
3
almost
going
there.
on.
Right, because Dr. Banks retired almost 2-3 years ago, and it was the 4 of us for a long time.
For at least 2004.
Let's see.
At least 10 years.
At least 10
At least
years.
10 years, yeah. At least 10
That it was
years.
just the 4 of us. And then prior to that, Dr. Schultz, who started the group, but then she retired or semi-retired at the time. Was that 2008?
2000.
Or 2000?
Dr. Schultz?
Mhm.
2000.
Okay, Dr. Schultz left in 2000. Okay. So, yeah, we have definitely had some transitions over the years, but like I said, the core group has really stuck together well. And like I said, transitioned out of obstetrics and then now doing GYN only. And again, it was a bittersweet because we do, and did love obstetrics and that interaction. But, I think now the way that we are able to engage in a different way allows us to explore, growing technologies, new media projects. One of the things that we've been able to do, again, as we have stepped away from obstetrics, which opened a lot of time and energy to pursue other things, is our whole, social media presence now, because we really were able to start engaging. We were a little late to the game, but we jumped in with 2 feet. So, we, going on Facebook, now we're, trying to, what the kids call it on the IG, trying to do the Instagram and, now we're podcasting, because we're trying to evolve and stay relevant and connect, on a whole different generation. Because one of the things we all talk about is how we're seeing generations of patients. We're seeing patients that we actually delivered 20-something years ago. And the way we practice medicine now is a little different than the way we practiced medicine 10 years ago. The science is the same, but how we engage patients is different because technology and digital media and, all this stuff is just, that's the way folks communicate now. And so we've had to evolve in that way and look at, new media outlets, this being one. And I think we're excited about, what we can do with this, and see how it grows, bringing in speakers, bringing in guests, and just having a conversation. So
It's funny you said we were a little late to the game. And I was thinking that when it comes to making decisions for the practice, we always weigh every angle and every decision to make sure not only it's good for us, it's good for our patients. and it's going to be a good fit for how we do things. And so that's why the social media, we evaluated how we were going to enter social media because it can be such a hot pot. And, we wanted to do it the right way.
Right.
And that's not to say we don't make mistakes along the way, but we really try to do the right thing. I think in all honesty, we can say we try to do the right thing, so that we say whatever happens, I can sleep at night because I tried to do the right thing and I tried to do what's best for my patients. And communicating with our patients through whatever media we are communicating, the patients are responding well.
Right.
They enjoy seeing us. What are they going to do next? What are they going to say next? So we try to top ourselves.
Because we're having fun.
yeah.
And I think that's what communicates. It's like we're not just doing it just because everyone says you need to be on social media now. We're like, okay, we're having a good time. We enjoy what we do at work now. We enjoy each other, and we enjoy our staff folks. And so we just put on costumes and
Some of us are a little, they're dragging me into it. But I'm having fun. I'm having fun.
come on, walk to the light. Walk to the light. Yeah, so it's fun. It's fun. So I think the main thing we, like we said, we want to enjoy what we do, and we want to do good. I think we want to do good, which is, why I think we finally decided on the name for this new venture, our podcast venture of Take Good Care, because that is really what we want to do. And we wanted it to stay kind of broad in general because it's not just good medical care, it's good family care, good physical care, self-care, however care needs to be defined, and that may change, but we want to do good, and we want our patients, ourselves, and our families to take good care. So, that is what we hope to do, through this podcast and, other media outlets so that we can continue to broaden our ability to reach generations and other people and inspire them and ourselves to continue to take good care.